right, so State versus. I'm going to give the lawyer about 15 minutes to show up. When she doesn't, we'll call it on the record. Will be continued at the request.
Okay.
So we're back on the record. Does the state have a continued witness, Mr.
Yes, Your Honor. Detective Barchek.
Your oath expired at 8:59 this morning, so you got to take a new one. You solemnly swear you testify to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, Your Honor.
All right. You know where to sit. Please speak into the microphone. Mr. Gutierrez, I have a case set for trial that I probably have to call on the record at about 9:15. So if I have to interrupt this witness, you'll know why.
Thank you, Your Honor. No problem.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez.
Detective Barchek, I believe we left off when we were playing the video, correct?
Correct.
And that was from your car, the dash cam, right?
It's correct.
And I just want to play the last minute or so, okay?
Yes.
Does that accurately depict what you saw and heard at that point on November 29th, 2012?
My memory of when I heard the shots.
Well, I'm just, what I'm asking...
But that video accurately depicts the recorded dash cam from my patrol vehicle, yes.
Now, when you pulled up, where did you end up, by the way?
Can you repeat the question?
Where did you end up? Your car. Where did you park your car? Where did you end up?
Behind that patrol vehicle, inside the video.
Where was that?
I don't recall the road name.
Okay. When you pulled up, were shots being fired already?
According to that dash cam, yes.
Okay. And we hear a car door opening and close. Is that yours?
Yes, it is.
And I hear somebody yelling, "Shots fired." Is that your voice?
Yes, it is.
Okay. What did you do after you got out of the car?
My memory of the sequence of events were as such. I remember that I exited the patrol vehicle, and that is when I heard shots fired. And I called out shots fired from my portable radio at the rear of my vehicle.
But what does that video indicate?
The video indicates that I was still inside the patrol vehicle and that I called out shots fired while sitting inside the vehicle.
Do you remember a pause in the volleys of gunfire?
I remember gunfire. I do not recall that first volley gunfire because I recall being outside of the vehicle at that time. So I remember hearing gunshots.
There come a point in time where you reviewed this audio, your dash cam video, after this occurred?
Yes.
And how did you do that?
I don't recall exactly where I reviewed it, but I did review it, yes.
And after reviewing it, did that refresh your recollection as to what happened that night?
It informed me that there was 2 volleys of fire.
Okay. Sir, there come a point in time where Sir, were you interviewed by anybody regarding this?
I was.
Initially, who were you interviewed by?
At the time, I was sergeant, but now he holds the rank of Sheriff Pinckney, and Detective Jacobs with the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Office.
Sure, I'm going to, in what's marked State's Exhibit 29A. Here's, if you could zoom it out for me, please. And go down up to the top. Sir, who did you get interviewed by initially?
At the time, he held the rank of sergeant, but today he's the sheriff of Cuyahoga County, Pinckney. And I believe his partner at the time was Jacobs.
And did they show you a map?
They did.
And again, I'm showing State's Exhibit 29A, which is all blanked out there, correct?
That is correct.
Is there any of your handwriting on that particular sheet?
That appears to be my handwriting at the top.
If we go to the bottom, please. How about on the bottom? Is that your handwriting?
I know with certainty that is.
Okay. And sir, if we go, and so there was a map on that blank spot, correct?
Yes.
And what did you indicate there on the map? That you can't see?
I see a diagram that appears to be my patrol vehicle, where I came to rest at. And I don't feel comfortable saying what else.
Because you can't
is on
see
that
it.
map, because I don't see it.
Okay, could we go to State's Exhibit 29, please? Did you get then re-interviewed, sir?
Yes.
By whom?
I do not know the two gentlemen's names, but I believe they're employed by the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office.
Okay. If you could blow that up, please. Okay. All right. Did they show you this map, sir?
Yes, they did.
Okay. And is there writing on that map?
There is.
And is that your writing? Down over here?
It appears to be. Can you scroll the diagram down so I can see the middle of the... Can you continue, please? All the way to the top.
That's your handwriting?
It is, but I don't see the writing on the right side of the document as before.
Okay, sir. That's your handwriting.
It is.
Can we go down to the bottom? Is this your handwriting here?
It is.
1711, what does that indicate?
I believe that's the numbered patrol vehicle that I was operating on the day.
And why is this here? What does this indicate?
It indicates that's where I came abreast with my vehicle, my path once I exited the vehicle.
Okay, and is this the point where you went after that?
That is my indicated travel, yes.
Okay, this is to the X's right here?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so after you exited your vehicle, you approached up to the where all these cars were, correct? Where you circled?
Can you repeat the question?
You were approaching to where all these cars were, correct?
Yes,
And this is where the X's occurred, correct?
that's correct.
What do you remember doing after you got out of your car?
I remember exiting the patrol vehicle. I remember coming to the rear of the car, hearing the shots fired.
Whose car? Rear of what car?
My patrol vehicle.
Okay.
I remember coming to the rear of the car. I remember calling out shots fired through my portable. I remember seeing a Cleveland police officer, Caucasian male. He and I looked at each other. We looked for concealment and cover. There was a series of small trees that we attempted to use.
In which area?
On the bottom of the diagram, you'll see an arrow.
Okay.
Right there.
That's where you went for cover?
That's the route that we took. There wasn't much cover to use.
Okay. Did you know where the shots were coming from?
General facility, general area
Of where?
of where I circled on the map.
Okay. And did you then, where were you at with this other police officer? Were you together?
At the time that we entered into the area with the small trees we were, however, I don't recall what path he took from there.
When you exit, the video shows shots were fired as you pulled up, correct?
That's correct.
You exit your vehicle, when did the shot stop? Where were you when the shot stopped?
The last X mark,
Way up here?
the next one,
Right there.
correct.
You were in the open right there?
Yes.
And as you were approaching up here, the shots were continuing?
From my memory, yes.
Okay. Is there any cover right here?
There's none.
And did you have a weapon at that point?
I did.
Which was that? What kind of weapon did you have?
I do not recall the weapon that was issued to me.
Was it a shotgun?
No, it was my handgun.
Okay, thank you. Okay. And you're telling us that all the way this path that the shots were being fired until you got to here?
From my memory, yes.
Okay, what did you do then after you got there?
When I arrived at that X mark, I saw what appeared to me to be a female lieutenant with the Cleveland Police Department yell out ceasefire.
Okay. And then what happened?
I holstered my weapon and I walked, which would be to the north of the vehicles, which would be to the right.
Here?
That's correct, in that general facility.
There's an X right here. Is that where you were at?
In that general area, yes.
Okay. And had the shooting stopped at that point?
Yes.
After the ceasefire command you heard?
Yes.
You said that was a female?
What appeared to me to be a female.
Okay.
How did you know she was a lieutenant?
She had a white shirt on, what appeared to be a white shirt.
Oh, uniform. Then.
Correct, she was in uniform.
Pardon my interruption.
Right. How many police officers were around here when you were right there? Give us a number.
I don't know. I do not know.
10? 20? 5?
I don't feel comfortable giving a number of officers.
Okay. Well, then give us a many, few, 2?
Upon my arrival at that X mark,
Yes.
I don't recall, I don't know.
Okay. And at that point, did you get a look into the victim's vehicle at that point?
I looked into the vehicle, yes.
Did you see anything?
I did.
What did you see?
I saw what appeared to be a male sitting on the driver's side of the vehicle behind the steering wheel, and his upper torso slid towards the person sitting on the passenger seat.
So you saw the driver slump towards the passenger?
Slide. I would like to use the word slide. It was quick.
Okay, could you demonstrate for the court what you saw?
Sure. The driver was seated on the driver's side of the vehicle, behind the steering wheel, and slid like this. Quick and abrupt.
Did you call out anything to anybody when you saw that?
No, no.
At that point, did you feel any type of, that the shooting was over at that point, when you got up there?
When I arrived at that X mark?
No, yeah, in other words, did you think that the whole incident stopped at that point?
Yes.
Then what did you do?
Naturally, I questioned if the man was still alive.
Who did you question that to?
Overruled.
No one to myself,
Oh,
because of my previous experience.
okay. What do you mean by your previous experience?
Months earlier, before this incident, I was involved.
Overruled.
Months earlier, I was involved in an incident where I watched a young man die from a gunshot wound.
And how did that relate to what you saw there?
His death was different.
Overall.
The process, from the time that he suffered, from the time that he was struck with the bullet until the time that he expired or died, I believed he was still a threat to me, and because he was waving his arms all over the place, he kept moving his head. So at the time, I thought that he was, I thought he was still a threat to me, and I was calling it out on the radio.
So the movement you saw in that prior incident concerned you because you saw a little bit of movement at that point?
Yes.
Okay. So it was the movement we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. So after that, what happened?
I tried to locate my partner.
And did you?
I did. I made sure that he was okay. He made sure that I was okay. We contacted, I don't recall if it was he or I, we contacted our radio, let them know that we were okay, and we cleared the scene.
So how long were you on the scene total?
I don't know.
5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes?
I don't know.
Okay. All right, sir, and that video we saw, that was from your dash cam, correct?
Correct.
And those are used by Bracknell Police Department in the usual course of business?
At the time that I was employed with them, yes.
Okay. And those videotapes are then part of the records that you keep in the police department?
I would assume so, yes.
Okay. And when you were Bracknell Police, when you had daily and routine access to those dash cams if you wanted to?
That I do not know.
Okay. Thank you, Detective. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. We'll go off the record for 1 minute, for probably like 3 minutes, actually. Rob, can we do a quick hearing on State versus Santos? No. You okay, Rob? All right, we're here this morning in the case of the State of Ohio versus Abraham Santos, Jr. This is case number 591286. We are scheduled today for trial. The plaintiff is represented by the prosecutor, Elena Thomas. She is present. I should note that trial is scheduled for 9 o'clock. It's about 20 after. Mr. Santos is represented by counsel who is not present. I have spoken with the bailiff, and counsel has not filed a motion for continuance, nor has she called to say she's running late or has otherwise been detained. As a result, I'm going to, Ms. Thomas, are you prepared to proceed?
We are.
All right. I can't proceed without counsel, as much as I might like to. So I'm going to mark the trial as continued at the defendant's request, or defendant's counsel's request, for failure to appear. I should note that Mr. Santos is in jail. I haven't asked him to be in the courtroom right now, and he'll be sent back down. Is there anything else you wanted to do on the record, Ms. Thomas?
No, yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. We're off the record. Do you need a minute? All right, so we are back on the record at 580-457. Do you have any cross-exam, Mr. D'Angelo?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Sure.
Morning, Detective.
Good morning, sir.
I want to show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit K and ask you if you can identify those documents.
I can. This is the document that I submitted to Lieutenant Brelo on December 4th, 2012.
And that's a Bracknell Police Department document.
It is.
And that's your report of the incident that was prepared on December 4th, 2012?
Yes.
I'd like you to, could you describe how long that document is? 3 paragraphs?
That's correct.
Okay. Could you review it for a second? And my question is, does that accurately reflect what you put in your report and signed on December the 4th, 2012?
It does.
Could you please state for the record what you state in your report?
You want me to read it?
Yeah.
Objection.
Let me think about this for a second. Is this by your lights, Mr. D'Angelo, a prior consistent statement or a prior inconsistent statement?
A little bit of both, Your Honor.
Why don't you just question him then? I do think it's not the way to do it to just read three, I guess you'd say medium length, well, one is a short paragraph, but it's not the correct way to do it to read it in evidence. So I would question him off of it, if you would.
Would it be a fair statement, Detective, that the report that you made on December the 4th does not contain some of the matters that you testified to here today?
Yes, it would be a fair statement.
So there's nothing mentioned in that relative to your observations of the driver, correct?
That is correct.
And there's nothing in here relative to any 2 volley of shots, correct?
That's correct.
You were later interviewed on December the 5th, 2012, correct? By the Sheriff's Department?
That's correct, at approximately 3:50.
And you were interviewed by now Sheriff Pinckney and Detective Jacobs, correct?
That's correct.
I'd ask you to read that document and ask if it refreshes your recollection of what you told them on December the 5th. Does that,
Yes.
That refreshes your recollection as to what you said in your interview?
It does.
And this was made the day after you made your report on December the 4th, correct? To your chief? Or rather to Lieutenant Labella?
Those are the dates listed.
Okay. And did you indicate in your interview to Detective Jacobs and Sheriff Pinckney that you remembered hearing only 1 volley of shots fired?
Yes.
And that after you reviewed your dash cam, you noticed that there were 2 volleys of shots, correct?
That's correct.
Would you agree, Detective, that the dash cam video and audio speaks for itself as to what's depicted?
It does.
Would it be a fair statement that your perception that night when the events were unfolding was that there was only 1 volley of gunfire?
That's correct.
And that after reviewing the video, it depicts a pause and then more gunfire, correct?
That's correct.
And the length of that pause and the nature and extent of it speaks for itself in terms of the video and the audio, correct? Would you agree that however long that pause is, it's a matter of playing the video and trying to time it, as some experts have done in this case, to tell us the length of time between shots? Would you agree with that?
The video speaks for itself
Right.
as far as the time.
Okay. And you further testified that there was another perception issue that you had that differed from the video in terms of when you heard the shots being fired, whether you were inside or outside of your vehicle, correct?
Perception as to where I was when I heard the shots? Yes.
And would you further agree that in the interview with the Sheriff's Department, there's no mention here of any observations of any movement from the driver or the person seated behind the driver's wheel in that Malibu, correct?
That is correct.
When you were interviewed by the prosecutor and you made the statement, that was on October 24, 2014, correct?
I don't have that document in front of me.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Please.
Showing you my marked up copy of your report.
The report is dated October 24, 2014.
Is that your signature at the bottom?
It is.
Okay, so that's almost 2 years from the date of the incident, correct?
That is correct.
When you were interviewed by the prosecutors, did they ask you whether you perceived a pause between the
I don't recall that
gunshots?
question.
Objection, Your Honor.
Over.
It wasn't interviewed by the prosecutors.
Well,
I think he said office. I thought it was some investigators. Didn't you say?
That's correct, Your Honor, I did.
do you recall if they asked you whether there was a pause?
I don't recall that question.
You indicated in your testimony, Detective, that you also looked at a diagram when you were interviewed by DCI in this case? Or was it, I'm sorry, when you were interviewed by Sergeant Pink, correct?
I looked at a photograph
Right.
of the area.
You marked your location, correct?
I did.
And you did that when, in December 2012?
I did it on December 5th, I believe the date is.
Okay. And then you marked another drawing when you were interviewed in the prosecutor's office in October of 2014, correct?
I believe I did.
Was there a difference in where you positioned your patrol car between what you said in December of 2012 versus October 2014?
No.
Okay. So did both of those documents reflect the same positions that you were in?
Yes.
You indicated in your testimony here that when you ultimately made your approach, let me strike that. When you left your vehicle, did you at any time observe your partner, Officer Flanagan?
Briefly.
Okay. Do you know where he went?
I do not know.
Did you ever see him when you ultimately made your observations up by the driver's side of the vehicle?
At the time I made the observation?
Yes.
No.
Did you see him crouching in front of the Malibu with his shotgun and flashlight?
No, I did not.
You did see other officers by the driver's door area?
At which point in time
When
are
you
you
made your
referring to?
observations of the driver?
There was officers in the area, yes.
Okay. And you don't recall how many there were?
No, I do not.
Did you see any officer checking on the passenger in the Malibu while you were present on the scene?
No, I did not.
When you made your way up to the driver area by the X that you marked, did you observe anyone on the passenger side of the Malibu?
Inside the vehicle?
No, outside the vehicle.
No, I did not.
Did you observe anyone on the trunk area of the zone car next to it, zone car 238?
No, I did not.
And a question was asked of you, do you know if the suspect vehicle was running or not when you were observing inside? And your answer was, I don't recall if it was.
That's
That's
correct.
your recollection?
That's correct.
Detective, at the time of these events, you were working as a part-time or full-time officer in Brelo?
At the time, I was employed part-time at Brelo and full-time at the state.
What agency in the state?
Ohio Department of Natural Resources.
Okay. And prior to that, I think you testified when you were here the first time that you were an officer. What?
My first law enforcement agency was the Put Bay Police Department.
Okay, was that a full-time position?
It was seasonal.
And when did you leave the Brelo Police Department?
April 29th, 2013.
Okay. And you've been with the Sheriff's Department full-time since that time?
Since April 29th, 2013.
And your current assignment in the Sheriff's Department is?
I'm assigned to the Detective Bureau.
Okay. And what particular duties are you assigned in the Detective Bureau?
General duties.
Are you part of a new team that's going to be involved in investigating use of force cases involving police officers?
I'm currently assigned to training for that team.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. D'Angelo. Mr. Gutierrez, do you have any redirect?
Nothing, Your Honor, thank you.
Sir, appreciate you coming down here today.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're excused. Does the state have another witness, Mr. Bell? McGinter.
State calls Detective Ray Diaz.
Please stop there and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear you will testify to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, please have a seat here. Please speak in the microphone. You can just leave it there.
Okay.
I don't imagine there'll be question about it, but some, actually, is it yours, Mr. D'Angelo? I think it is. Anyway, thank you, Mr. McGinty.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer, could you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
That's Detective Raymond Diaz, D-I-A-Z, badge 1001.
Are you any relation to the other Diaz that was involved in November 29th?
No relationship at all.
Okay, let's put that up before I forget about it. How long have you been a Cleveland police officer?
21 years now.
And how long have you been a detective at the Cleveland Police Homicide Unit?
9 years now.
And are you also on the shoot team?
Yes, sir.
And what are they currently called?
I'm sorry, use of deadly force investigation team.
Okay. And tell us about that. What is that?
The use of deadly force investigation team is there. I believe there are 6 of us now assigned from our unit. Any police involved shooting, we will be called out to as a team, and then we will investigate any police involved shooting.
And how long have you been on that team?
I've been on that team for 7 years.
Has it had different names over the years?
Yes.
Okay. And who else is on the team and who leads it?
Lieutenant Tim is in charge of the use of deadly force team.
Is he also the chief of the homicide unit?
Yes, sir. There's Detective Entenok, it's E-N-T-E-N-O-K. Detective Carlin, C-A-R-L-I-N. Detective Sandoval, S-A-N-D-O-V-A-L. Myself. At the time of this incident, Detective Soa was still in our unit. He's since been retired.
And when did Detective Soa retire?
He retired at the end of last year.
Okay, and did you get a call on November 29th, evening of the responder?
Yes, sir.
And was it the deceased Cleveland Heritage Middle School?
Yes, sir.
And you live on the far west side of the county?
I live in North Olmsted, yes.
Okay. And how did you respond? What time was it approximately? And what do you normally do when you respond?
I don't recall the exact time, but we did get paged. We'll get a page from police radio that we're being called to the scene for police-involved shooting. I remember getting a text message. We contact police radio, and then I responded. I don't know if I responded from my residence or if I was just on my way home, but I immediately responded right to the scene.
Okay. Did it take some time to get there?
Yes.
Do you remember if you began near your home or
I want to say I was at home and I left from home, but I'm usually the first person from the shooting team to arrive on scene in most instances.
And where did Detective Sowell live? What county?
Detective Sowell lives in Medina.
So he's the next county over.
Yes.
Takes a little longer to get to the scene.
Yes.
Did he show up at the scene that night too?
He did.
Okay. And how long do you think it took you to get there, just approximately?
30, 40 minutes, yes.
Would that be your normal route to that type of location?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 30, 40 minutes later you get there. Were you the first that night, or was someone else already there?
I believe I was the first one to arrive on scene from the shooting team.
Lieutenant Tim Alton show up too?
He was already there.
He was there, okay. And did he direct you when you got there?
Yes. Once we get to the scene of a shooting, police shooting, we approach the lieutenant, and then he'll assign us a task. Normally it's Detective Carlin and Antonak are usually the lead investigators on police shootings, or Detective Sowell and I. In this instance, when I arrived on scene, he asked me to handle the crime scene.
And does he often do that?
If I'm not the primary investigator, I always handle the crime scene in all police shootings.
Okay. And that would mean measurements and observations and directing photos and that type of thing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where did you park when you got there?
My recollection is when I pulled up that the school parking lot was blocked off. I parked out on the street and then walked to the crime scene. It was a short walk from where I parked to the crime scene.
Are you familiar with East Cleveland there in that area?
I was there that night. I have not been back since. But
You know Lee Road, you know Terrace Road, those are kind of the main intersections there.
Yes, sir.
And then Euclid would be to the north.
Yes, sir.
And between Euclid and the driveway up the hill is Wymore. You know that street?
Yes, sir.
Where were you parked, if you could?
I want to say I was parked on that street and then walked up. There was like a hill there, and I walked over
Well,
that
what was
area.
up the hill as you walked along? What was on the hill?
Honestly, I don't recall.
Did you see cars there?
Yes.
Were there police cars?
Yes, there were several police cars there that night, yeah.
Well, several is all you saw? Or-
Yes.
Okay. In the whole area, how many cars were there? Police cars.
Honestly, I couldn't give you an exact
Had the
number.
media been there by the time you were there?
I want to say when I arrived on scene, the media were getting there at the same time, and they were out on the street area, outside
Same
the
kind
crime.
of area you parked in, and they
Yeah.
scrambled to and come up to the area?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you allow the media up close that night, if you recall?
No, we don't normally allow them anywhere near us.
Where was Lieutenant Tim when he gave you your assignment?
He was in the parking lot near where the zone cars were in the suspect auto. I approached him in that area, and that's when I was advised to handle the crime scene.
So he was somewhere around where the bodies were in the car?
That's correct.
Okay. Did you get a chance to look at this?
I am. I was just looking at, yes.
Have you seen it before right now when you got on a witness stand?
This is the first I've seen it.
Okay. So you see what's depicted as a Chevy Malibu in the blue
Yes, sir.
and the police cars?
Yes, sir.
Were there also cars to the east, generally east and down the driveway? To orient you, the driveway would be here, going down towards the court reporter's feet.
Yes.
And Wymore would be over here, Terrace would be over here, Euclid would be, where the Mondo family is.
Yes, my recollection was there were zone cars in that area.
Okay. And you had your conversation with Lieutenant Tim in this general area where the Malibu is?
I want to say it was either there or right in front of the school area. They were kind of using the school area as a meeting area.
Okay. Were they already organized or getting organized when you were there?
When I got there, they were getting organized.
So could you give us an estimate if you can about the time you were called and your arrival? What did you think about it? Was it midnight before or after? Just started.
I would say it was around midnight. It would be on the crime scene log, my exact arrival time.
Okay. All right. And you were assigned the crime scene, so what did you do?
Basically, I returned back to my car. I have a measuring wheel, a tape measure, my flashlight, retrieved my notebook.
Do you have markers for shell casings and that type of thing?
Yes, what I do is I return back to the area. I believe Detective Raynard, R-A-Y-N-A-R-D, was there.
Is he from SIU?
He is from SIU, and he's assigned especially to our unit for homicide investigations.
And how do you work with Detective Raymond? What do you?
We have a very good relationship, Jimmy and I.
Right. Does he often show up at the homicide scene?
Yes, sir.
And you have photos taken with him? Is he the photographer?
Yes.
And what kind of equipment does he use?
He has markers. They're yellow markers with numbers on them. He started placing markers on all the evidence in the area. And then basically what we'll do, once we get everything marked, I will start taking measurements.
You help him mark, you find shell casings at the scene together?
Yeah.
Was this an unusual number of shell casings at the scene?
Yes, numerous amount of items evidence-wise.
Have you ever seen that many shell casings at a scene?
Not that I recall, no.
We've been an officer 21 years.
Yeah.
Can you think of one?
No.
And what type of things did you measure? Or do you measure?
We actually took measurements of each and every casing that we recovered. We took measurements of all of the vehicles on scene, how close they were to each other. We took measurements of the defects in each of the vehicles, both the zone cars and the suspect auto. We took measurements of anything that we had placarded that night.
Okay. And did you direct Officer Rayner to take photos if he wasn't taking them himself?
Yes, Detective Rayner and I were both, he was taking all the photographs, some in my direction, and he, like I said, we worked pretty
If you
well.
see something, he's going to take a picture?
Yes.
If you say, here's a shell casing here, and where there's shell casings found in different areas or under the car or under a rock or near a curb or something that you found and say, take a photo.
Right, we'll placard it and then photograph it.
Okay. And how long were you doing that?
My recollection was we spent a good almost 4 hours at the crime scene processing it, and then at that point, Lieutenant Tim had approached me, and I was told that we were no longer going to be investigating, and that it was in East Cleveland and BCI's investigation.
Okay. And what did you do then? What were you
I
instructed?
went back to my car and went home.
You didn't go back downtown or
No.
that night or anything?
I want to say we did go back to our office. We did return back to the office, and then at that time we asked the lieutenant if we should do reports. We did start some of our original reports, and then we were advised that we weren't going to have to do anything on this, that East Cleveland was taking over the investigation.
Okay. And did you do some preliminary reports on?
I did.
So there wasn't an official report done, but you started one anyhow, just in case it was needed?
Yes, sir.
And what type of things did you put in the report?
In my report, I just put the information on both suspects. I put information on the suspect vehicle. I put information on the two zone cars closest to the suspect
Let
vehicle.
me stop you right there. Now, you named the zone cars
Yes,
by
sir.
number. Did you put those measurements in that you had started to take?
Yes.
Okay, and did you, you say the suspect vehicle, did you run the plate, that type of thing?
Yes, sir.
You run a record of the individual?
Yes, I
Is
did.
that normal, what you normally do?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you put any information from the officer?
In my report, no. The way that when we get to the scene of the shooting, I'm assigned for the crime scene, so I would just take care of all the evidentiary stuff. The other detectives on scene would be assigned to interview of police officers involved in it, not involved in it. Those would all be separate. So those reports would be done by the detectives that did interviews.
So that night, you didn't do any interviews?
None.
Some nights you do interviews if you're assigned to do that?
Yes, sir.
If you're the lead detective?
Correct.
But you weren't the lead pair, you and Soa were doing this. Was Soa helping you? Or
He was
different
actually,
duties?
he had a different duty of doing interviews.
So Detective Nate Soa did interviews. Did he talk to him about those interviews?
I did not know.
Did you know he was doing interviews? Sometimes does he do an interview with a witness, near the scene and talk to the neighbor or whoever's involved in a case?
He'll do the interviews, and then when we get back to the office, that's when we usually do all our reports at that time.
Okay, did he do any of the reports?
If he did one, I do not know. I just did, mine was separate again. I just did the crime
And you
scene.
haven't talked to Nate in a while, I suppose?
I have not, no.
You were partners, though, right?
Yes,
And good friends.
yes.
Now, when Lieutenant Tim came up and told you, did you see him with any of the negotiations that went on with the East Cleveland Police or discussions that went on in his crime scene this was going to be?
I was not part of that, no, sir.
Did you see it going on? I mean,
No, like I
the
said,
graphs there.
they were all inside the school, and I was all outside.
Now, oriented, you know where the islands were? Did you look at these island areas were for shell casings?
We looked everywhere, yeah.
Did you ever talk to Officer Diaz in this area?
Did I? I never interviewed any police
So
officers.
you didn't talk to Sabolic, Officer Brelo, any of the officers?
No, sir.
Okay. And the school would be over where this table is, the area, does that orient you now?
Yes.
That would be to the north,
That is correct.
or rather east. North would be towards Euclid Avenue, south would be this area.
Yeah, I do recall it being off to the right area.
Okay. A new looking big school.
Yes, sir.
Could you note that there was nowhere to go when you're down here? Did you happen to note that?
Yeah, there was no way out but the entrance way that was down this area.
Remember the park area up here?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember what was beyond this playground area here? To the north?
I don't recall exactly, no.
But you came up a hill.
Yes.
Were you on a plateau up here of some sort, some hill?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And can we see did you bring with you what you prepared? Was that ever entered in the law?
The report that I did start, it is a 7-page report that I started that was turned over to Lieutenant Tim, and then that's as far as it went.
Because Cleveland didn't do the investigation.
That is correct.
All right. And tell us what's on page 1.
On page 1 of my
What type
report,
of information is that?
I'm sorry, sir?
What type of information is on page 1?
It's basically, we have what's described as our header, which is titled Felonious Assault on a Police Officer, On Duty, Arrest, Abated by Death. It has a report number, then it has the listed as a victim. We used in this instance P.O. Allen Alameda, badge 2.
And why do you use Officer Almeida?
The header of the report is all done by the lieutenant. The lieutenant says this is what I want to be headed as the
Okay.
information, and we just insert it.
There were many officers involved, but that's the officer, the lieutenant was.
Yeah, that's correct.
Was he the officer involved very early outside the Justice Center? Almeida?
Honestly, I do not know.
You don't know that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And what else do you have on page 1?
It shows the, in this instance, the address of occurrence, which where this began, 205 West St. Clair Avenue, in a public street, and we have the approximate time of occurrence to be 22:31 hours, November 29, 2012, which is a Thursday. Then on this same page, I started off with, I had contacted the Cuyahoga County Medical Examiner's Office, and then I list as information as suspect 1 being Timothy R. Russell, suspect 2 being Malissa A. Williams, and then I received the...
And how do you know that?
I'm sorry, sir?
How do you know it was Mr. Russell and Ms. Williams?
They had already, by the time I got this information, I want to say it was either that night or the following morning, they had already been received by the Cuyahoga County Coroner's Office.
Okay. So you did this, you know the body didn't go in until the next day, or
Correct.
daylight. So you must have done this report after that point then, huh?
Yes, this report actually is dated December 3rd is when I did this report.
Okay, so 4 days later, probably.
Correct.
All right, so that's how you didn't know their names that night, then I think, or did you?
I don't recall knowing their names that night, no.
Did you inquire, did you do any of that type of investigation that night yourself?
No, I was completely consumed with the amount of evidence at the crime scene.
Shell casings, distances, and positioning, photographs,
Correct.
and you made your first initial observations?
Correct.
What were your first initial observations?
There was a lot of evidence, more than I've ever had.
So were you being careful in your collection?
We didn't collect anything. All we did was
Well, in your measurements and
Yes.
markings, I should say.
Yes,
Okay. And was there evidence of gunfire and crossfire?
there was.
And were there people around while you were conducting your investigation?
When I did mine, no. Once we get on scene, Lieutenant Tim made sure that everyone was out of the crime scene, out in the parking lot, and I believe it was the crime scene guys and myself.
Barnell, if you would put the O'Donnell pictures up, 1199. 3.1457, is that?
Am I going too fast?
Showing was remarked for purposes of identification sake exhibit 1199, E 314.37. Does that look familiar to you?
Yes, sir, it does.
And what does that depict?
That is the inside of the Chevy.
All right. And that's from an iPhone or a phone, it's a little less in quality than you're used to looking at through your SIU photographs they take. The quality of the photo or detail or does that look like your normal photos or does that look like a lesser quality?
I'm not an expert in that area. You're saying it's not one of our crime scene photos, so it does not look like a photograph that we would take. No, it would be more, it would cover the whole area.
Okay. Show the other one then. Also 1199. All right, you recognize that scene? Detective?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And what is it?
It appears to be a photograph taking on the one side of the zone car, covering a zone car involved and the suspect vehicle, and then several people, looks like all to be officers behind that vehicle.
Okay, this is E2300, 23.00. That has nothing to do with time, you understand that?
Okay.
Number. Could you come down with the court permission? Take a look. Describe what you see. What?
This is the zone car.
Okay.
As you can see, there are defects in the windshield.
You talked about crossfire, does that appear? Or is it just firing?
I can't say that that's crossfire. There are defects.
Defects, that's all, okay. You didn't determine that. All right, and the car with the American flag, which is that?
That is the suspect auto, the Chevy.
And what's in that Chevy that you see?
From what I can see, both suspects in the vehicle, in the driver's seat and the passenger seat, both are slumped over to their right.
All right, is there a passenger or a driver's window left or up?
It does not appear that there is no driver's window up or passenger window, and then the rear passenger window appears to be broken out, at least the bottom portion.
Okay. Who was the officer with the badge looking in with the flashlight in at the body?
That appears to be a sergeant. I'm not real good on names. I do not know exactly my name, but it appears to be one of these sergeants. And then this appears to be...
Appear to have a sergeant stripe on his
Yes, sir.
shoulder? Okay. And the white, what is the white shirt?
That would most likely be a lieutenant that will respond that night.
Do you call them white shirts?
Yes.
Problems, okay. And do other ranks besides lieutenant wear white shirts?
Yes, captains, commanders.
Do you know that white shirt?
I do not know him specifically, no, by name.
Do you recall seeing the sergeant or the lieutenant there that night?
There were sergeants and lieutenants, yes.
Do you recall these two, when you were there doing your work?
Yes, I'm sure I did see him at some.
And who else is there? You could see
See several male and female police officers.
10 or 12 people in the back. You recognize anybody? Are they all police officers from your?
They are all from the Cleveland Police Department, it appears.
Can you see the cuffs on them or uniforms or whatever it is that identifies them?
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize anybody?
I don't right off the top of my head, no. I'm not very good with names.
All right. Does it appear those people are interested in the scene?
They appear, yes.
And that would
Everyone
be-
who were there that
Sure.
night.
Is that normal for people to be interested in the scene if they were involved in the case?
Yes.
Or heard about the case, responding to the case, looking at the case? And do they, when you're working a crime scene, do they talk about the case?
At some point they do, yes.
Well, I mean, not just reporting, but to each other.
I'm sure they do.
Wouldn't that be natural for police officers being
Yes.
around looking at the crime scene to talk about the crime scene?
Yes.
Or what happened, or what does he have to show?
Objection.
Well, hold on. I didn't hear the end of the question.
Did you hear enough of it to answer, Detective, or?
Was the question finished? I thought the objection
Was
came.
finished enough.
What is the question?
Is it normal for the police officers at a crime scene to talk about what the evidence is they've seen from it?
I'm sure it does, yes.
Okay, so the objection's overruled, you may respond.
Yes, I'm sure that they do, yes.
And they do that normally at all the crime scenes you've been, or many of the crime scenes you've been in your 9 years in homicide or 21 years as a police officer?
That is correct.
Okay. And was this going on when you were there, or is this why you were there, or before you were there, or after you were there? Do you have any idea?
This was prior to my arrival. Once I get on scene and I'm on the crime scene, there's no officers in the crime scene itself.
Okay. Would
They
this
were all
be-
taken to the school.
What would be your idea what the crime scene was?
My idea of the crime scene was everything that's in that parking lot there, all the evidence collected, the vehicles involved, that's what I had concentrated on.
And when you get to a crime scene and there are police officers walking around the crime scene, what do?
We will ask them to leave the crime scene, even police officers. We prefer
Okay.
no one to be inside the crime scene.
And you put up tape or anything like that?
Yes.
Was tape put up that night?
I think in
You
this
recall.
instance, the only thing that was taped off was the driveway itself, so no one else can enter the
Just
driveway.
come up, like up the hill or down the hill?
Right.
Do you recall what you mean? Down the hill would be down towards the court reporter's table.
Whichever the
At the
exit
top of the
way
hill
out,
would be over there.
whatever the exit was out of the parking lot, that was blocked off so no one could come in or leave until we directed them to.
Is that down the hill by Wymore and Terrace, or Lee Road, if you recall, runs basically north-south there too?
I want to say it
Up
was
to the heights.
the area just off to the left here, that no one else can enter up to that.
Okay.
Towards there.
That would be Lee Road then, a main avenue. You're familiar with Lee Road?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Could we see the next photo with the group? I just want to see if you were there, if this is how it was when you were there, or this took place before you. Okay, that's another picture. Is that the same scene we're talking about?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, do you see the same damages and defects?
Yes.
Okay, well, generally, did you see the windshield?
Yes, sir, I can.
Did that receive many bullet holes or defects?
I want to say what I recall was that I said there was approximately 50 defects in the windshield.
Did you do any measurements of the defects or angles or any of that type of work that night?
I want to say, as I was doing those measurements of the vehicles, when I was advised that we were no longer investigators.
You were kind of working your way into the vehicle?
No,
Towards the vehicle?
just on that vehicle itself, yes.
You see some damage to the vehicle, did you note that night?
Yes.
Now you see various people here. Again, you see somebody with a stripe What do stripes indicate on the shoulder?
That's a sergeant and then the lieutenant.
Are they the same ones or is that different?
It appears to be the same exact two that were just depicted in the last one.
Okay, and you see a variety of people, are they all police officers behind you?
Yeah, it appears to be the same photograph as the last one, just now it's off to the left.
Or same time?
Correct.
Yeah, it's not the same angle, it's a different angle.
Different angle, yes, sir.
So it's the same people, same time. But that's before you were there.
Yes, sir.
Why you say before and not after?
Because none of those people were there when I were doing my measurements. No, all of the officers were removed from the crime scene itself.
Okay, would you have them there while you were there?
No,
Would you?
not when I'm doing the crime scene.
All right, thank you, you can return to your seat. Do we have a blow up with the shell case?
A-S-O-W-A.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 1044A, which is just a placard of the, we'll put it here and we'll see if you can see it, or if you want to come down, that'd be great. The court can see it also. Yeah. Take a look at that. Have you seen that before this?
This is the first time I'm seeing it.
Okay, so somebody else prepared that, that wasn't you, right?
That's correct.
And take a minute to orient yourself, if you could, to the crime scene you saw that night and the exhibits you see here. And you were aware that BCI continued the investigation afterwards. You see the suspect, as you referred to it, Chevy, the Malibu?
Yes, sir.
And you see it adjoining 238?
Yes.
Okay. And you see the various numbers and marks next to them?
Yes, in red, black, and blue.
Okay. And did you saw shell casings that night?
That is correct.
Okay. Did you start the process of marking the shell casings?
We marked them and started doing measurements on them, yes.
And when you were there marking them, did you leave your yellow placards, whatever you used to mark the shell casings? And so we put up a photo of that, if we have a scene photo. So that when BCI came over, took over, were you there when they took over?
I was, and my recollection was that Detective Rayner, our crime scene guy, was ordered to stay on scene with them to assist them.
Help them with the photos.
So he remained with them.
Okay. And are you familiar with Special Agent Wintrick, Ann Wintrick, from BCI?
I know of the name, but I don't know the person.
Okay. Did you talk to the guy from BCI that night?
I did not.
You know, like you say, here's what we measured so far, here's what we didn't get to. We did get to the grass, we didn't get to the grass. Did you have that type of conversation with somebody?
I just spoke with my lieutenant, who said we were.
Okay. And you left. Okay. So you didn't orient somebody else or tour them and show what you did?
I believe that's what Detective Rayner stated.
Okay. Good. Now, could you tell us, either using this marking or the exhibit, whatever you prefer, where you found shell casings generally?
I think it's best up there. It looks like all of the markers that are on the roadway itself appear to be spent shell casings.
Okay. Well, why don't you just point them out? Do we have that pointer? Or just use this pen without, you can't touch the screen or it goes off. Show us just generally what you did in the area you looked at. And describe what State Exhibit 151 shows before you went to that.
State's Exhibit 151 appears to be a photograph taken by Detective Rayner of the crime scene that night.
Are you looking downhill or generally west towards the school at this point?
It's towards the school, yes.
Okay, can you see the playground and all the playground items in there? What would you call those little exercise things?
The gym area here?
Yeah. Okay. And describe, just for the record, what those orange items look like, what they are.
All of these?
Yeah.
They just appear to be metal, looks like where there's kids' play area.
Is there a dozen or two of these things? And behind it, what's that white thing? Big
Is that
wall?
fence? Fence line?
Okay, was it disturbed at all, the fence? Okay. I'm told this is a BCI photo, but
Okay.
would that be the similar type of photo you take?
It would, yes.
Okay, is that these yellow ones, or did you contribute to any of those, or is that BCI's work?
Yeah, it appears that these are our markers, but I can't say for a fact unless they changed them after I left. Detective Brelo would be best to be able to describe that.
But you put them near what?
These appear to be spent casings that are all on the ground here. And then we have each of the vehicles marked, both zone cars and the suspect auto.
Okay, and is this a knoll or a slight hill here?
Yes, sir.
And are you basically looking downhill slightly at the school as depicted in that exhibit?
That is correct.
Okay. And how long did it take you to do these measurements?
I want to say I spent almost 4 hours doing measurements until I was told that we were no longer.
Well, tell us, like, when you measured the cars and the distances, is that how you found them? Did you let anybody move their cars there?
No, they were exactly how they were when I got there.
Were you aware that there were other cars here, east of these vehicles?
When I was there, they were not.
But where you were, there had been other cars?
Was not.
You weren't informed, okay, if that happened. And were there still cars still on the drive going down, or had they been removed?
I want to say there were still cars off to the right, yes.
On the driveway down?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, do we have an overview of, we could do it with a placard, or you can leave that up there, of the area to refresh his memory as to where the driveway is? Okay, let me see if we can put this,
Mr. McKinney,
yes.
to the extent of that, you're blocking,
Oh.
that is blocking his view of the monitor, so
Okay.
it could go in a different.
All right.
That's right, thank you.
Can the court see that, the witness?
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
All right, can you take a look at that,
Yes, sir.
Officer DNC? You see the school?
Yes.
You see the area to the south, that would be up that hill up there, the park. Is that heavily wooded park there?
Yes.
Okay. And you see the two driveways, the driveway to the parking lot and a drop-off driveway to drop the children off or the buses off here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is this the parking lot you were talking about before where they were meeting, and the school you were talking about where they were organizing?
This is the school where they were organizing. I'm looking at this now. These vehicles were parked in here.
Okay.
So I want to say that the crime scene was blocked off down here, that no one could enter up, but they weren't letting us, the UTFIT team, we were coming up and parking down in this area. When my recollection is that I walked up from this area here.
Okay, just, where other people around there. And you recognize Lee Road?
Yes.
Have you been up Lee Road? Does it go uphill? And if you keep going, you're up to Monticello and the Heights before you know it?
Yes.
Okay. And are you familiar with the park here? Have you ever had baseball or whatever it might bring out to that park?
I've never been up there, but I
Okay.
am familiar.
Okay. And do you see Terrace Road down here?
Yes, sir.
Terrace would be the east-west road generally down. And that fence you pointed out to us, where would that fence be by the playground? That picket fence that you showed us in the photograph.
I'm going to say it's running along the roadway here.
Well, take a look. Or we lost that photo.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember the park with the orange items?
Yes.
The gym equipment or exercise equipment or whatever they are, stationary type equipment? Do you see those orange items?
I do now, yes.
Do you remember where the fence was?
It was running along the back part.
Okay, is that downhill also
Yes, sir.
behind it? And so you have downhill to the north, uphill to the south. You have a school to the east, and you have Lee Road there, I'm sorry, the school to the west, Lee Road to the east.
Correct.
And you have, if there were any cars, they'd be in here. They weren't there when you were there.
I don't recall there being cars there, no.
Okay. Did you come to understand or know at any time that they released the cars so they could leave with them or whatever they had to do?
I do not.
Okay. Did you come to know that there were many cars in the chase, more than you saw there when you arrived?
Yes, there were.
Were all those cars still there, the 50 or whatever number of cars that were involved?
Again, I don't know that for a fact because I had nothing to do with the interviews of the other officers involved.
And you had nothing to do with the chase that night? You weren't even on duty at the time the chase took place? Okay, you can return to your seat. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, could we show a photo with the Malibu with the occupants in it? Is Detective Soa still living in the area if anybody wanted to get a hold of him?
Last I knew, he was either in St. Pete's or South Carolina, one of the two.
Oh, really? Okay. He's enjoying his retirement then, I take it?
Yes.
Okay. You can't. All right. Can we bring up 1227? Here's 1227 is the windshield area. So take a look at that, Detective Diaz. Does that look familiar to you?
It does.
Whose items are on that windshield? I see a tape measurement and 3 yellow placards, 70, 69, and 3.
I do not know if it was either Detective Raynard's or BCI's.
Okay. Are they similar to the ones you use?
It is something similar, yes.
Okay. And do you use tape, in that same type of tape?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Why do you use the tape?
That's what Detective Rayner would use to help assist in getting measurements.
Okay. And you do measurements more of the distances between the vehicles, points from the curb, and that's for later reference, that type of thing?
Yes, sir.
And did you do that here in case you had to recreate the crime scene or use these exact distances for testimony later in the trial?
I did get measurements of the vehicles, which I put in this partial report I have.
Okay, but BCI did the same thing, so, okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, look, show you, take exhibit 1228, or is it 1028? 1228. Do you recognize that photo?
That is a photograph of the inside of the vehicle, Chevy vehicle.
And does it show the people in the vehicle deceased?
It does.
Is that how they appeared to you that night?
Yes, it does appear to be them, yes.
Okay. Now, did you do any search for weapons within the vehicle?
We were made aware that there was possibly a gun inside the vehicle, but
Who made you aware of that?
my lieutenant,
Okay, and was there some concern and discussion about a gun?
yes,
Okay, and did you search that vehicle in any way?
we did not.
Why don't you do that?
It's no different in a police shooting or a homicide. If we have victims or suspects in a vehicle that are deceased, they will be photographed as is, and then the vehicle and the deceased will be transported to the coroner's office, where the entire vehicle will be processed. So from our perspective is we're not going to try to contaminate anything inside the vehicle. We want it photographed on scene, and then when it gets to the coroner's office, then we'll do a search of the vehicle.
And any of the coroners or medical examiner doctors arrive while you were still there to start searching or looking at the bodies of the car?
I don't recall them while I was there being there, but I could be wrong.
All right. Did you mark in your mapping, as this BCI report does, the exact spot of each shell casing? Or would you have done that later had you completed your report?
I would have put it in a report eventually, but I did do measurements that night.
Okay. Were you measuring the shell casings or the cars or the distance?
Both.
Okay. So you haven't.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, to go back to your report and your various pages, are you discussing the weapons that were taken from the individuals that night?
Am I discussing weapons taken
From the officers?
No, sir. Again,
Okay.
I did nothing. I had no interviews with any police officers.
Okay, what's on page 2 of your report?
Before you get to that, let me interrupt. If you have more than a couple of minutes, we'll take a break. at this
Okay,
point.
break would be good. Thanks.
So when we get back, we'll talk about page 2 of your report. You remain under oath, and you have to return at the stand at, we'll say, 10:35.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. So let's say 10:35, we're up here. Thank you, Ron.
That was already. I'll mark here. Can you see without my glasses?
I need glasses.
So the VIN number I only got later at another time, huh?
That night I got it right off the car.
Oh, you did? Where'd you get it off the windshield?
Mhm.
Okay. The driver's door been left open.
Okay, go.
Yeah, it was really